Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Nicholas Malson speaking, and welcome to the special 20th episode of Smile Once Again podcast. To those of you who haven't heard of this podcast before, the main focus of it is to basically focus on optimistic things, whilst not ignoring the negative ones, or simply talking about nice things that have happened recently. And if you are a returning listener, welcome back. An absolute pleasure to know that you have decided to listen to yet another episode of my podcast. And today, the reason why it is a special podcast is I have a guest sitting right next to me. Yes, I know, right next to me, which I haven't done before. Without further ado, let me introduce you to him. His name is Scott. Scott, welcome to the show. Nice to see you here.
Thanks for having me, Nick.
Yeah.
I just got to say, for the listeners, Nick has got a fantastic setup here. And he's really done a great job. And I enjoy listening to your videos.
Oh, thanks, Scott. Thank you. You didn't have to say this, but it is greatly appreciated to hear such a positive feedback live like this. So, Scott, as some of you may have already heard, he's got a channel called Scotty's Running World. I think I've said this correctly.
Yes, correct.
And you have recently hit 100 subscribers.
Yes.
Congratulations. Yeah, and pretty much the main gist of it, I believe, it's the channel about tips and advice on running and exercising and just general lifestyle advice.
Yes.
Would that be correct?
Exactly. The channel is dedicated for running.
Yep.
It's firstly, the main focus will be tips and tricks to improve your running.
Right.
But then the second part of it, I guess, is just doing challenges or doing tutorials, so I make a lot of short videos as well as regular content. So it's a real mixture of types of content, trying to cater for different audiences.
Right.
And yeah, no, I'm really enjoy doing it. As you say, just gone over 100 subscribers. It's a nice little landmark.
Yep.
For me, it's just not about getting subscribers. I think it's just a hobby, really. I really enjoy doing it. But I guess it's nice to get that positive feedback that people enjoy the work you make and content you make.
Yeah, that's.
And yeah, I mean, I've got big plans for this year. I'm doing some big races. So another part of what I record are race events. So I'm doing my first trail marathon in a couple of weeks, and that's going to be a good video, I hope, to put up. But yeah, I mean, if you are one of Nick's subscribers and you have checked my channel out, thank you very much. And yeah. That's the gist of my channel.
Oh, that's.
But it's early days. It's very much maybe a 1 year in now, but it's still in its infancy.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, as you have kindly commented in one of my videos, basically we all start from somewhere, and even though my audience currently is not big, and again, I think I'm agreeing with you with the fact that I'm treating this as a hobby, and if things go well, then that's great. If not, at least I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I think same goes with you. And yeah, I've noticed your styles of videos have been quite diversified recently, so you're doing like the shorts and you're doing some like proper long videos as well. So what would be your favorite style at the moment?
My favorite style is probably doing vlogs on race day.
Right.
So one of my favorite videos is when I did the Dawn to Dusk challenge. Me and a team of people ran basically from dawn to dusk. And I vlogged the event. So I want to start doing more of those types of challenges. I feel just from a user's perspective, from a viewer's perspective, that would just be much more entertaining to watch.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the type of content I want to do more. I mean, I've got some big, hopefully interesting events coming up this year. So one of them is I'm going to Iceland to run a marathon around a volcano.
Oh, no way.
So, yeah, that should make for a good video. But just a great life experience as well.
That's great.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be a highlight. But there's a few more. I won't give everything away. There's a few more big videos in the pipeline. But yeah, I make a lot of short videos as well. The reason being is they don't take too long to edit. Some of those 20 half-hour minute videos do take hours to edit sometimes. In terms of like time invested to output, sometimes the shorter videos are easier just to get out. So that's why I have the mix really, just to keep it consistent.
Yeah. I mean, like, personally, as an example, like the episode that we're currently recording, which, by the way, just in case if anyone is interested, it is currently 12:30 on the 6th of March 2022. So depending on like how long the episode is, so we will take this time to get this recorded. Then I will need to spend the same amount of time to listen through it just to see how it sounds like. Then I will need to do some editing if necessary. Then I will need to convert it to a video format so I could publish it on YouTube as well as other platforms. Quick shout out to Anchor.fm, by the way. And then I'll just need to actually process it for publishing and then publish it. And it may usually take me anywhere between a few hours to like maybe half a day sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I've published my first special episode with me and my good friend Michael. It was an hour and a half long episode. So it took me 3 hours to actually like record and listen to it. And then editing took me maybe a couple more hours. So yeah, definitely like half a day at least. So it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. So I agree with you. Like, especially with like how top quality your videos are. Like I can imagine that you have spent a lot of time just to like work on just one video alone.
Yeah.
I think to me, like my most favorite video of yours is the one where you have reviewed or compared the types of bottles to use for running. I think it was one of your recent ones.
Yes,
yeah,
I know the one you're on about. Yes.
Yeah, I think I prefer the one that is like a rucksack type. It is a bit heavier from what you've told me, but I think to me it will work better.
Yes.
Because I am quite a heavy water drinker, considering I'm quite a big guy. So yeah, I definitely need to like have as much liquid with me as possible. Otherwise, I'll just go dehydrated very quickly, and it's not going to end well for me. I guess.
That's one of the big things with running is never let yourself get dehydrated.
Yeah.
So when you're first starting out, you're going to be more prone to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, things like hydration vests, hydration belts.
Yeah, and I mean, I have recently, just started like not jogging or running like that. I'm just slowly kind of like practicing, just making. I think probably not running itself. I think what I do is I firstly just walk much longer distances.
Okay.
Considering I have a reason now, because like dating and such, I am like walking a lot with my special one, which is actually very healthy and very useful to me and to her as well. Like I think actually yesterday, as an example, we have walked at least 16,000 steps.
Wow.
So it is like over and beyond for my target, which is like the 10,000 mark.
Yes, that's a good effort.
Yeah, so I'm doing my best with this one. It does really help me out. And then a couple of times last month, I've actually done proper jogging. Like I was jogging around the neighborhood, and I've started small, like maybe just 100-meter jog. Then I've increased it to like 500-meter. I think I haven't gone to the kilometer yet. But I'm slowly like gaining the pace and such, and it is difficult, especially like with my ex's weight. But I am working on it, and I think your advice, especially the ones that you post on your channel, will definitely help me improve.
So a video that will probably be very useful to you that I've been meaning to make is I coach Couch to 5K sometimes.
Right.
So essentially it's taking people from all the mixed abilities that are new to running.
Yeah.
Getting them to run their first 5K. And we do it in stages over a 12-week program.
Okay, that's good.
So yeah, one of the kind of videos I'm interested in making is just going through that program.
Yeah.
With people. Like similar to what you're doing, people start off in a progressive motion of doing 100 meters or up to a K if they can, resting, and then the following week maybe building up the mileage, and then taking frequent rests, and then it's about reducing those rests until you get to the point where you can run 5K hopefully with no rest. So that's the end goal. So yeah, we do that. It's a lot of the sessions are more on technique than just running it as well. So you've got to look at everything from every angle. It's not just fitness; it's the technique you're using. One of the common mistakes people make is they go out too hard too early as well. So you've got to learn your body as well, what it's capable of, and what's a hard effort for you.
I agree. As a matter of fact, I think I have personally kind of made the mistake of just starting too hard. Like especially, I remember an example when I started learning at uni. There was an opportunity for me to like do basketball. again. And the thing is, I remember I did basketball back when I was, a teenager, or like even earlier than that. And I think I don't want to kind of like blow my trumpet too much, but I had some successes. So like I was pretty decent at it to some extent. And I was thinking like maybe, even though I haven't practiced basketball for like a couple of years, maybe I can come back to it and I'll maybe be good at it again.
Yeah.
And then turns out that I was much worse than that, and I think the course itself was much more intense. And I ended up possibly just like not doing it because I just think like if I carry on doing like that, I may just probably do more harm to myself than good. So I think your advice of just like taking it slow first and just learn your body, I think that's a very good advice.
Absolutely.
We should definitely like take this advice into consideration.
Yeah, and that applies to all things, not just running, any kind of exercise, any kind of sport.
Yeah.
It's getting a feel for it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it is tempting to just go 100%, give your hardest effort.
Yeah, like, work hard, play harder, that kind of attitude, But no, it's it's a decent advice, especially with sports. And yeah, I will definitely take a look at that video, and I think the audience will be interested in that video as well. So I will do my best, and I'll forget to leave a link in the description box. So yeah, pretty much what I can say is running is definitely fun. Like, I think I have found something that interests me with regards to sports.
Yes.
Because I've tried lots of things, and they just seem to be a little bit more complicated for me for now. Maybe I'll get to them at some point. But yeah, I just want to start with something simple. So long walks, jogging, running, and maybe at some point I may be joining you in the marathons. Who knows,
I'd love that.
Yeah, so we could just like make an effort together and just like run through the marathon and such, and we'll see how it goes. But obviously it's gonna be a long time.
You'd be surprised though. There's a lot of stories where people go from zero to hero kind of thing, and you see massive transformations.
Yep.
I'm not just talking weight, but just fitness in general or mindset.
Yeah.
I mean, running's one of the purest kind of ways to get fit, I think. If you think of the human origin, we were hunter-gatherers.
Yep.
I've listened to some interesting podcasts, and really, the human's so well designed to run long distances without overheating.
Oh yeah.
Whereas most animals don't sweat; they pant. So essentially, in the early ages of mankind, it was our biggest advantage. It would take a few hours, but we could track down that gazelle to exhaustion when the hunters were chasing them. It's interesting that we are kind of designed and built for long distance running. The ability to sweat, regulate your temperature, heart rate.
Yeah.
Because majority of the wildlife is bigger and meaner than us.
Certainly, yeah.
So on a one-on-one in a closed space, you're not going to fare well, but we come into our own in the open plain.
Yeah, it's. I think I may have heard some similar ideas from different sources, kind of adding up to what you have mentioned. Is that I think when people live in a natural environments where they do have to for example chase the prey or do some hard labor work. I think this kind of natural exercising will help them kind of live healthier and live longer, because nowadays if you think about it, most of the jobs that we do, it's not really that natural, especially the sedentary work office work and such. Our brains may have developed in a different way, but I think physically speaking, our bodies may have changed because we just simply mostly sit, for example, behind the screens and such, do office work and stuff, or maybe if I don't know, the other example would be possibly call centers. We don't have much opportunities to run or chase the prey there, or do some heavy industrial work, for example. So with this in mind, we don't have many opportunities to actually exercise naturally, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in this case, what would you advise to do just so we could keep natural exercising going and just so we could keep ourselves healthier?
So it's a really good question, and there's some really simple things you can do in your everyday life.
Right.
Rather than just block out an hour to do something. What I suggest is whenever you get a chance, always take the stairs over a lift.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the most simplest things you can do. If you're on a train or bus, choose to stand up and sit down, even if the bus is empty. Just by doing that is, going to you're going to be burning calories more just by doing that. And obviously, if you're heading off to do a desk job anyway, you might benefit from just standing up for a little bit before you then start your shift sitting down. So tips like that. Something similar you mentioned you're doing more is just walking more.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you've got the local shops near you and you have a tendency to drive if you have a car, opt perhaps for walking, if the weather's pleasant. So little things like that, just building it into your daily routines will slowly but surely you'll start to notice your fitness improve and the tasks become a little bit easier.
Yeah, actually, that's with regards to standing, that's actually a very interesting point, because back in days when I used to do like different jobs, like I used to be a shop assistant working at tills, I was mostly standing.
Yes.
And even standing idly just makes me feel so exhausted, especially in the legs area.
Mm-hmm.
I think possibly what you just told me, if standing up burns calories as well, that's actually very logical. I feel quite exhausted after just standing up, and at first I was thinking how on earth am I so exhausted even though I didn't do much rather than standing? That makes so much sense now.
Yeah, so one of my first jobs was at B&Q.
Right.
So we were on our feet all day, and everyone there told me, after your first week, you're going to really feel it. And I was a little naive. That's fine. I was like, I'm young, I'm fit, I'll be fine. But boy, do you feel it. Just being on your feet all day for 8 to 9 hours. Obviously, I guess in that kind of role, you're walking a lot more than just standing. But yeah, you'll notice from going from a sedentary lifestyle, sitting down to that is a big transition.
Yeah.
And then other things happen. So your legs start to develop a bit more and become stronger. So there's these added benefits as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you can just stand more or walk more in your everyday life, that'd be great. I mean, one thing I'd love at my office is just to have a standing desk, or an option to have a standing desk.
Yeah.
That way it resolves that issue.
Yeah.
Or sitting down too long, even if you just wanted for an hour of the day to stand up, you can. So yeah, hopefully companies start looking at that more, because it's quite simple to get a desk that can raise up and down.
Yeah, so especially for example, if you do feel like you're tired from standing for quite a bit, you can just lower it down and just sit for a bit, and then when you feel ready, you can just stand up again.
Exactly.
So yeah, because definitely sedentary, sitting down for 8 hours in a row or even longer, depending on your hobbies and such, can affect your legs specifically. I personally am experiencing some difficulties, especially with the knees and stuff. I was I think I definitely need to look into that just to strengthen up my legs. And just in case, because some of my audience may not live in the UK, B&Q is I think it's a DIY shop and stuff like that. So
exactly that.
Yeah, but
hardware store.
Yeah, just to make sure that people understand what B&Q actually is. But just to kind of again return to your your running as a hobby, or as your lifestyle, how much it has affected you, and if it was a positive impact, or if there were some things that you regret about, or just how did running make you feel?
It's a really good question, that. So I guess before I started running, I had an interest in keeping fit, but it wasn't for any purpose. I would go to the gym to get fitter, to then go to the gym to lift heavier or run further. But it didn't really have a purpose apart from that. But when I kind of got into running, I felt like there was more of a purpose, more of a hobby, and more of just an interest to explore. And then one of the best things about running is in terms of that self-improvement, it can be very addictive. I don't know anyone that doesn't like improving themselves.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling in any regard. So when you start doing that, when you notice you're getting quicker on a certain distance or just feeling better, it's a great feeling. So that had a massive, positive impact for me, and kind of led onto my journey as such, this running journey that I've been on. When I look back when I first started to where I'm now, there's been a big transition, and it's kind of great to see from my perspective. But there are some negatives, I guess. I mean, when you get to a certain level, it requires much more dedication,
right?
More time invested, saying no to parties and stuff. So it just depends how far you want to take it and finding the balance. For me, that's my biggest challenge, is finding the balance in life, because I don't want to just be purely focused on running and missing out on aspects of social life, perhaps. But at the same time, I want to try and push myself the hardest. I'm entering my peak years, I guess you could say. So I really want to use this opportunity while I got it, to hit the goals I want to hit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with you, because especially, I think it's just with any other hobby, if you start dedicating more and more time to it, you then soon realize that pretty much other aspects are missed out and such. So balance is quite important with pretty much everything you're doing, And speaking of balance, so I'm pretty sure that healthy lifestyle is not just about the exercising that you're doing. I think it's also about the food that you are taking in. Absolutely. So I know that you are really into cooking, as much as pretty much similar with me. I've recently started getting into cooking myself. And so I'm pretty sure that you know how to cook healthily, or at least you know where to start and such. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on cooking in general?
Yeah, so just to give you some background again of myself, because I appreciate your audience won't know me, is up until about 25, I was such a fussy eater. I didn't really eat much veg or sauce. And then I had this just change in me, that I just became more willing to explore foods, more creative. I don't know if it's just my taste change, but everything just started to taste much more nice, and I was willing to more explore food. And then one thing that kind of triggered my passion for cooking is when I subscribed to HelloFresh.
Okay.
So HelloFresh, for those that don't know, is a subscription service where they send you 3 or more meals a week, and they give you all the ingredients and a recipe card. It's fresh ingredients. It's you cook it from scratch. It's just all measured out to just make your life a little bit easier. And for the working professional, it's amazing, because you can save time. It's there, it's ready, it's delivered to your door. You don't have to go shopping or anything for the ingredients, and it's reasonably priced as well. So doing that, and then exploring food further, exploring types of food I've never tried before further, that I would never think to get in a supermarket. And then with those recipe cards, it's teaching you how to cook. So then you can go away, you can make adaptations, you can memorize that recipe, for example. So that has been a really positive thing for me. Because you're right, when you run more, you need to eat more, but you need to put the right nutrition in your body.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it might be surprising, but my calorie intake is 3,000 now. It is very high, but I'm in a unique circumstance of how much I run every week.
Yeah.
But because of that, I need to focus more on what I'm eating, because I don't want it to be 3,000 calories or the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, your body has a way of telling you what it wants with cravings, I guess. So
yeah.
So yeah, my love of cooking is there, and I think it will keep developing. I'm not a chef or anything. I'm not
of course,
at that level yet or anything, or will get to that level. But yeah, you can always improve on that side of things.
Yeah, there's always an opportunity to improve yourself. So there is the phrase that I use commonly in nowadays is pretty much progress over perfection. It's there's always a way to go up and even higher than up, that kind of stuff. But I'm not actually surprised about the have you taken in 3,000 calories and such. To me, I think this is I think I got a similar intake. and at some point actually, like I may need to take more just to kind of like lose weight in a bit more kind of like balanced pace. Because if I lose weight faster, then like there's this thing of loose skin and just like not. It's just not healthy to lose weight so rapidly and such. But yeah, my mom, she's she's also into like active lifestyle and healthy lifestyle, and she has been constantly talking to me about the balanced diet. So depending on like your body shape and weight and all the other parameters, you can identify how much protein, fats, and carbs you need to take on a daily basis just to keep you toned, or depending on what you want to do, either lose weight like healthily or anything like that. So you just kind of like do the percentage or the ratio of like proteins, fats, and carbs, and then you just like keep focusing on it. The difficult part here is actually calculating how much of what you have consumed so far. So you need to count calories, you need to count how much of what you have taken, and stuff like that. It can sometimes become very, very complicated. But as long as you have the general idea of what you're doing, because you may not necessarily need to kind of go like over detailed and stuff. As long as you have like the general idea of what you're doing, I think you'll be alright with that. So have you perhaps tried something like this before?
Just to give your audience some insight then. So I've actually never followed a diet, and I keep it very simple for myself. So I think diets overcomplicate things. It's interesting what you're saying about the balance of protein, carbs, and fats.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. What I like to do, I have just one rule, and it's worked for me, is try to cut out all processed food.
Yeah.
So when I say processed food, I don't just mean pizza. I mean like ready meals. I mean like microwavable rice. If you think about it, all these types of foods have preservatives in them.
Oh yeah.
And because of that, their nutritional value has decreased.
Yeah.
So it's transitioning over to that is a little hard because processed foods are normally very convenient, very quick to cook, but it does come at a cost. So that microwavable rice is not going to have the same nutrition as some loose rice you boil in a pan. It's going to be completely different. So that's the kind of one rule, I guess, if you did want to say as a rule for a diet, is try not to eat processed foods. Perhaps don't do it straight away, but gradually reduce your intake of it. More likely to succeed that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for me, I try and keep it simple. I try and eat a lot of greens. If you don't eat processed foods and eat a lot of greens, you'll do well.
I think the most important aspect of this is just basically fresh foods and just
fresh foods.
Try to avoid preservatives as much as possible.
Exactly.
And such,
I'm not saying people go vegetarian or vegan or anything. Or dairy free. That's entirely your choice. As like additional things you can do. For me, you don't need to do that necessarily. But as long as you have a high intake of fruit and vegetables throughout the day. Yeah. Because most people are deficient in these nutritions that they provide.
Yeah. So. Yeah, fair enough. It's like actually a recent example is at some point I've just kind of broke the rule and just ordered some takeaway.
Okay.
And it does happen. I think I've noticed that. I think my vulnerability is when there is like a very stressful situation. I just like stop caring about cooking for a little while and just like order takeaways instead, which I have now knowing my enemy, just trying to avoid it as much as I can. Yeah. But the thing is, so like it was pizza, right? And when I had pizza, I've noticed I had a very serious indigestion problem after that.
Okay.
Now I'm like thinking, okay, I don't want to feel like that again. So I'm thinking, I think this was probably the last time I have ordered pizza, especially from that particular place. Not going to advertise it.
Yeah.
And also, just an FYI, fellas, who's listening, we're not sponsored by HelloFresh. This is just like a personal kind of like shout out because I think they do deserve like recognition because I know they have.
I mean, I'd love to be sponsored if they're listening.
Oh yeah. So Scotty's running world. HelloFresh, if you're listening, you've got a potential channel to kind of talk to and such. But I think I've noticed this indigestion problem a bit more when I started cooking a bit more, and I think after cooking by myself or by yourself, you just kind of start feeling a bit more passionate about it,
Yeah.
and you just realize how much more delicious like your personal cooking is.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just the matter of taste, it's a matter of achievement as well. Like, you've actually achieved this dish. It actually tastes good. You've actually learned something, so you are evolving, you have found this, like, not hobby. It's not, I don't want to call cooking hobby, because cooking is something you have to do to survive, but you just find something, like maybe a dish that you, like, really feel good about. Like, you've cooked it yourself, it tastes good, and it's healthier,
So there's an old saying, crops taste better when you harvest them yourself.
That's a very good phrase.
And that's in a literal sense of a farmer, I guess.
Yeah.
But, the next level down, I guess, would be cooking for yourself from fresh.
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely agree with what you say. The other benefit, I guess, when you're comparing it to takeaways, is just how much money you'd save.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
So just, I feel like cooking always from scratch is always going to be a cheaper outturn than going to a restaurant or getting a takeaway.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
And then, money plays a big factor into life as well, because it allows you to do other things. So I have a very good way now of prioritizing what I spend. I'm very particular in what I spend, so it goes into certain passions that I'm very dedicated for. So yeah, I mean, that's just another benefit is you can save money. And like, saying all this, when I'm saying, like, don't have processed foods and stuff, treat yourself now and again if you want to. If you've earned it, or if you've just had a really bad day, there's no problem, no issue ordering that pizza if you feel like you need to. But it's just trying to, in the main, not do that day to day.
Oh yeah. That I have learned from, like, personal experience, and still to this day I'm facing consequences, like, excess weight and just the bad habits and such, which I am trying to get rid of. And I'm being more or less successful, obviously having some days when I relapse, but then I come back stronger than ever and just carrying on, so. But yeah, that's a great advice, and especially this phrase about crops. I definitely need to save it in my mind, just because I think it sounds so motivational. Just like, I literally had goosebumps when you said it the first time. It was so cool. But yeah, just returning on cooking. At the moment, if you have any, what is your most favorite recipe or recipes?
So I think my favorite one is a vegetable tortilla.
Vegetable tortilla, yeah.
So
okay.
I use, like, kidney beans, peppers, obviously a tomato sauce, like almost like a salsa. It sounds, or not a tortilla, but perhaps a quesadilla.
Quesadilla,
if you're familiar. So one or the other. That's definitely one of my favorites. With some, like, nice wholemeal tortillas. So yeah, that's probably one of my favorites. Can't go wrong with just pesto and pasta. So simple. Any kind of curry, vegetable curries. So when I'm saying, like, try and increase your vegetable intake and stuff like that, one of the simplest things you can do is, instead of loading your curry with chicken, beef, prawns, you can load it with vegetables, and it just tastes lovely, in my opinion. So yeah, things like that I like to make.
Yeah, I think with curry, I think the main role or main ingredient in that dish is the curry sauce itself. So you can pretty much have it with, like, everything you want. And if you say that it goes well with vegetables, then I think it proves the point.
Yeah, it's a really easy way to get your 5 a day.
Yeah.
You could put 5 different vegetables in there and be done.
Yeah, that's pretty solid, I guess.
Yeah.
Actually, you remind me, there's this one recipe I want to try. It's the chicken and pineapple curry. So I think I've talked about this with my good friend Michael a few episodes back, and I still unfortunately haven't tried it yet, but I still have it saved, so I'm definitely going to give it a try, hopefully this month. If not, then next month, definitely. I will definitely let you know how it went, like when I get it done and such. But as for me, my favorite recipe so far will be lentil soup. So it's the one I probably have shown you already. It basically includes lentils, spaghetti, tomato sauce, or tomato paste rather, tomato puree, there we go. And then lots of vegetables like celery, onions, carrots, and vegetable stock. And it's just making soups. It's so much fun, actually. And it's my first ever soup that I've cooked by myself. It's like without help of my, parents or stuff like that. Because I definitely, at some point, I want to try and cook borscht from scratch. So borscht is like a hot beetroot soup, basically, with I think based on beef as well. So yeah, maybe at some point I will cook that as well and let you guys know, and how it tasted like. And yeah, soups is definitely fun. And I'm still kind of like learning, so there's not many recipes that I've tried yet. But some that I've tried so far, that I was quite impressed with them. It went really, really well. But what would be, apart from like your favorite dish, what would be your favorite cuisine?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Similar to what I said in the previous comment, and I guess it has to come down to Mexican or Indian.
Oh yeah.
I feel like from an easier, quicker kind of method would be Mexican. The dishes you can make. Like I love beans and lentils and all that. But then if you are feeling particularly hungry, nothing beats an Indian, I don't think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do love my rice. I don't have the really hot kind of spice stuff. I'd say anywhere between low and medium. From like a korma to a jalfrezi, maybe at the hottest.
Jalfrezi is still quite spicy for me.
So that's probably my limit. But yeah, no, I do love Indians. One thing I want to explore more is Thai. In my opinion, Thai is superior to Chinese. It's just again, it's cleaner, it's not oily, it's fresher. I like the spread more really of what they got on offer. So I think that's a cuisine that's growing here in the UK more. I mean, Chinese, Indian, and Italian will always be like the staple three, won't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, those other ones, Thai. I think there's a couple other ones, Turkish and Brazilian, that kind of I notice are emerging. Certainly in Southampton, you've got Casa Brazilian. I think you've got a Turkish outlet there as well. Got a Greek outlet.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, one of the other things I love to do is travel.
And
one of the things I enjoy about traveling is just learning new cuisines and experiencing different cultures in that way. Yes.
To be honest, actually, the follow-up question I actually had was like, what are your thoughts on traveling? You kind of like smoothly transitioned to it, which
segue.
is actually it was a really good segue. So yeah, like because I know you are. You're a massive fan of traveling, and I cannot disagree with you with that one. Traveling is absolutely amazing. So what can you tell me about traveling? So you said like cuisines, which I absolutely agree with. Like trying new cuisines is it's a really great experience. So tell me more about it.
Yeah, it's. I think it's just so. Another quote I like is, traveling and education are two things that you spend money on but make you richer. Richer in life experiences or richer in knowledge. And this is kind of what I love about it. I think nothing beats experiencing it firsthand either. I've last year went to a few European countries, East Europe and stuff, and it's just interesting to see how different their diet is sometimes. Some countries have big influences. When I went to Slovenia, it's very Italian influenced. But it was just interesting to see that because they do their own twist on things. Romania, where I went to, they're quite more heavy in their meats. And they love their garlic. So they don't just have salt and pepper. They have salt, pepper, and garlic shakers. So it's interesting to see that. And yeah, it's just a pleasant experience. Even just seeing the different McDonald's, the menus are just so different. It's just surprising how different they can change from nation to nation.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Actually, what I can say is that I've recently traveled as well, and I went to Switzerland, and their cuisine is very unique. Like it's a mix of German, Italian, French even, and because they are. Switzerland is pretty much surrounded by these countries, and there's such a blend of such cultures and stuff. Like when you, for example, get to the western part of Switzerland, you'll get more influence of German and French cultures. Then if you go like further south, it will be more like Italian and such. And the cuisine there is absolutely incredible as well. But with regards to McDonald's, actually, you reminded me of a really good point. I used to go to France a long time ago, like back in my college years. So that'll be, say, probably like mostly almost 10 years ago now.
Okay.
Which is crazy to think about, really. And yeah, I remember going to McDonald's there, and I kid you not, they sell booze in McDonald's. They sell, like, I think it was Heineken.
I know they drink young there, so that might...
Yeah, so Heineken beer cans there. I was looking at the menu, I was like, wait, it's actual beer. It's an actual beer. Like, me and my companion, like, I was asking her, I was like, that's actually beer in here. She was like, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? I was like, yeah, it's unusual. So, yeah, the McDonald's in different places is very different as well. But, you know, the one common thing about McDonald's, it's unhealthy. So, at least they do that constantly in all the countries, like, no matter where you are. But, yeah, with Romania, so and like Slovenia and such, they maybe not Slovenia, but definitely Romania and other Slavic countries, because I'm Slavic myself, originally from like Latvia, Russia kind of area. They are very meat based, so like we heavily focus ourselves on meats, because especially our climate can be quite cold, and having meats kind of helps us like keeping ourselves warm. And we have lots of like stews, like not just soups. We have lots of hot stews and such. So borscht is basically considered to be a stew rather than soup.
Yes.
Because it's very kind of like thick, lots of vegetables and lots of meat in it, but it's very, very filling, and it keeps you warm as well. Also, funnily enough, like if you do drink, you know, borscht goes really well with a shot of vodka.
Yeah. So that's something I learned in Romania, is they do their shots before the meal.
Yeah.
Whereas I guess the culture in the UK is you do a shot after the meal. So yeah, they go whopper.
Yeah, whopper. Yeah.
And do their shots. Yeah, I think I had something similar to a borscht in Romania, but I think it was Hungarian cuisine, but just in Romania.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was almost. Yeah, it was. I think it was almost in a pie, and the soup was almost in a pie or pot.
I mean,
pastry kind of pot. I don't know what it's called, but it was lovely.
Yeah, sadly, I can't share much about Hungarian cuisine. I haven't tried it myself, but maybe at some point when I travel there, maybe I can experience it as firsthand, and it will definitely be something interesting to have a look at. But so from traveling, what I understand is experience of cuisine, education. I really support the position of becoming richer even though you spend money and such. It's still an investment and such.
Yeah, it's an investment in yourself. Just as I say, I view it the same as education.
Yeah.
You're investing in yourself, and you're growing as a person, hopefully, by doing it.
Yeah.
And it's just about making life experiences. So I have three priorities, like I mentioned about money, what I spend it on. You know, it's running, traveling, content. There's three big passions I have right now. So running, even though it's simple, can get expensive in terms of race entries, buying trainers, equipment and stuff. Traveling, obviously, is probably one of the most expensive things you can do. And then content creations, like, you know, you've got this brilliant mic that you've invested in. So you probably know as well, to create content, if it's videos or audio, it does require a bit of investment as well.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I just try and invest into three of these passions best I can. Because I live a modest lifestyle otherwise. You know, I drive a very old car, live in a modest flat, I guess. I could have better. I could have a better car. I could have a better house easily. But then I wouldn't be able to do the things I do. So I prefer to prioritize in that way.
Yeah, because, like, I mean, everyone does at some point in their life want to experience luxury and stuff. But the problem is that luxury may be a good investment, but it's only going to satisfy, like, your pleasure and such. Like, it will give you pleasure, but it's not going to, like, return, like, give anything in return, you know? Yeah. Like, you'll be spending more money on it with, like, basically no positive return on that other than pleasure.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, and especially if something breaks and such, you will have to invest so much money into actually getting it fixed. You know, it's crazy to think about it. As long as you know where you spend your money and like how you, like what you invested into, if the investment actually gives you positive returns, not just financially wise, but again with travel, if it makes you richer with knowledge and experiences, you can then use this positive outcome to invest it more into the things that you want to spend your time in.
Exactly.
So it's like it's the constant positive returns, you know.
Positive feedback.
Yeah, positive feedback, exactly. Yeah. Like you invest into something, you get a good outcome out of it. You use this good outcome to invest it into more things, and then you get more stuff back to you. It's just kind of like this constant progression, you know. Obviously, we should try not to get too greedy, I guess. I think because returning to balance, like make sure that you know, like you keep yourself in check. You know, you don't lose the track and you don't lose control of yourself, because it's very easy to just lose focus on everything else whilst focusing on one thing.
Yeah.
And then you just suddenly realize, you know, a few years later, it's like, oh, what have I done?
Yes.
You know, so many years have gone, and I could have experienced so many more things.
Exactly. I mean, I look at the world, I guess, from a very observant point of view. I know, you know, you're not going to get your time back. So in regards to all those three things, so the running, for example, you know, I'm going to be entering my peak years. It'll be harder and harder to get PBs as I get older, and I do know that.
Yeah.
With the traveling, you know, life can change very quickly. I'm in a position where I have a lot of freedom right now. I don't have a family or kids. You know, I speak to people, family and kids, and they wish like they could do what I do and just leave at a drop of a hat.
Yeah.
And I know that may not always be the case. So yeah, I think it's you know, making the most of the opportune time now, because you never know when things will change, and changes are constant in life.
Yeah. So no matter what we do, like we cannot avoid change.
Yeah,
you know,
and it changes for the better, or changes just change. But just I don't want to go into another topic about money and lifestyle and stuff, but yeah, one of the things I do see often is something called lifestyle inflation.
Okay.
So as you progressively make more money, or you know, get promotions and stuff, you buy newer, better cars, you buy a bigger house and stuff, and people sometimes fall into this trap of, even though they're living a better quality life, their debts are just maintaining, their outgoing expenditure is getting higher and higher. And that's something I just want to avoid. So I'm very conscious of that, and you know, I don't care about keeping up with the Joneses. So yeah, it's just something as well I think of.
Yeah.
When I approach kind of spending my money and stuff, just prioritizing it on what I want to do.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, very, very interesting. I actually agree. I think I may have not personally seen examples, but I have seen examples of someone who has realized, oh, life is going really, really well. Let's start investing in things that like aren't quite useless, you know, like expensive, luxurious items and such. And then when things start going south, they just realize, like, oh no, what am I doing now? Like, you know, just they end up selling everything, and they just basically come back to square one without actually like having any positive feedback coming from what they have obtained before, you know. So yeah, I think it's just pretty much just returning to the idea of just keeping yourself in check. And as there's a phrase, check yourself before you wreck yourself, that kind of stuff, you know. And yeah, no, it's and I do wish that, you know, you keep going, and, you know, you keep yourself in check, and you despite the coming to the peak years, I hope you will get your personal best still going, you know, because, you know, you're still, even though peak years are coming, you have kept yourself in a good shape. You know, you have got practice. I'm pretty sure like the only way now is still up, you know, so don't beat yourself down just yet. You know, the peak years may actually be the best years of your life, you know. So just keep your spirits up, I guess, you know. So I'm just noticing that we have been discussing things for quite a while now, and, you know, it's just how it goes. If the conversation has a really good flow, I mean, it's very hard to stop each other. But probably before we go, is there perhaps anything else that you have in mind that you perhaps want to talk about?
I guess the only other thing I want to say is I feel like in the last few years we're living in a very fast-paced world.
Oh yeah.
Things are changing very quickly, and I think people don't like change, but you have to adapt to it. The people that adapt survive. Companies that adapt survive. And, you know, I'm not just talking about the pandemic or wars, but everything that it's kind of led on to. So
the aftermath of the events.
So if you're feeling like things are moving so quickly, you're not alone. I think everyone's seeing that. We're seeing sky high inflation. We're seeing a new way of working and living from the end of the pandemic, hopefully.
Yep.
And obviously we've got a worrying war going on. So it's going to keep being fast paced, I think. But you just got to keep adapting to it. Our grandparents are being through worse.
Definitely.
And our parents to an extent as well. There are always periods in time where we have historical events for good or bad.
Yep.
Life is changing quick. I think we're entering a phase now. I work in the energy industry. There's going to be a big push to go net zero and stuff like that. And electric vehicles may become commonplace in the next decade.
Oh yeah.
So little things like that. The world is moving quick, but always remain positive, and there's still, you can still have an amazing time and period in your life, despite perhaps some negative things going on. So always stay positive. We
always experience some challenges in our life, and I think it's all about how you actually approach them and like what you learn from them. Because that from my personal life experience, just feeling like when you've lost everything, being street homeless, like sleeping in car parks and stuff. But like I think it gave me a very important life lesson of just cherishing small things, and just appreciate everything that you have, and just keep going forward. Because there are people that still experiencing the struggles, and they still keep going no matter what, and just still enjoying life to the fullest despite of the challenges that you have. And it's a good advice, just keeping spirits up despite the changes and such. And of course lots of things are happening right now. Don't want to get into too much details, but hopefully everyone is okay, everyone is safe, and life will be better after that. Definitely, it has to be. There's always an up after a down. But personally, how are you coping with changes, especially how rapidly they go?
I would say I'm coping okay. I wouldn't say I'm coping good with the changes. I think there are stages. You have to kind of accept change. I think the world's, just going back to the pandemic, because it's probably the biggest thing that's changed things. The world of 2019 will never be the same again.
Oh yeah.
The way technology has adapted to it. And the way we'll work different now, remote working a bit more. And I think just the whole of mankind being more conscious of diseases is going to be a brilliant thing. I think we have a lot of lessons to learn and how we dealt with it. We obviously don't want to repeat or anything like that. So,
of course, yeah.
Yeah, things change. But, as long as you learn from it, if it is a negative, and prevent it from happening again, then you'll do well.
Yeah. And are you excited about the positive changes that's going to happen?
Yeah,
in the future?
I think with change there's opportunity. I always like to think of it from a business point of view. Businesses that can't adapt to change tend to struggle and might go under, and businesses that adapt very well to change, tend to boom. So when everyone was locked in at home, you saw technologies that didn't rely on you going out so much do really well. The boom of Zoom, for example, and just it was the right place, right time, perhaps, as a technology. I think you just got to adapt to it, and those that adapt will do well. And I'm sure there's going to be big events to come and big changes to come. You just got to always keep adapting to it.
Yeah, nice. I really appreciate it. And I think we have discussed quite a lot of things, and it's honestly been a really, really interesting, a very productive conversation, I think. So before we go, is there anything you want to say to the audience?
I guess, if you're into running, feel free to check out my channel. Give it a browse, see if it's for you. Or if you are not into running but wanting to maybe explore it more, it's definitely worth viewing and perhaps considering. I guess that's just me promoting my channel.
No, feel free to do it. Yeah, I do want your channel to prosper. So definitely check out Scott's channel. It's called Scotty's Running World. The link will be in the description box. And yeah, he's got so much good stuff in his channel, and I can't wait for the new content to come in, because from what you told me, there's gonna be a lot of exciting stuff. And just be safe, okay? Especially, I do hope that the volcano is not gonna go wild with you all like
it
running
is
around
active.
and stuff.
It is active. But,
Oh God.
I'm sure they'll assess it.
Yeah, but that's good. All right. Well, in that case, thank you guys for listening. I will leave it to my future self to conclude the episode. But Scott, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being the first live guest. And I really appreciate the conversation we had.
That's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you so much. Hello again, this is me, Nicholas Malson. So, couple of concluding words before I finish this episode. First and foremost, thank you to Anchor.fm for distributing this episode as well as other episodes in the past with ease. Thanks to Anchor.fm, this podcast is available on multiple platforms such as Spotify, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, and Breaker. This podcast is also available on YouTube. However, I'm currently distributing the episodes manually. However, at some point it may be possible to integrate YouTube into Anchor.fm. Let's see how this goes. But yeah, if you have anything to say, feel free to use Anchor.fm. It's free of charge, and if you live in the United States, you may actually be able to earn some profits from your podcast. Hopefully it goes well. Secondly, once again, thank you to Scott for this great experience. He has been my first guest in the podcast who has been sitting next to me instead of having it all done remotely. So this has been a very interesting experience, and I hope that it sounds good. So I do hope you will enjoy this episode as much as we have enjoyed recording it. And lastly, just a reminder that whatever services and businesses that we have mentioned in this episode, we are not sponsored by them. It's simply a shout out or just a reference, just so we don't say like, oh, business X, business Y, company Z, service A, etc. So just for a live reference. And overall, I just hope that this episode has gone well, and I'm more than happy to receive any feedback that you have. So just let me know if you enjoyed it or not. And also apologies for uploading this episode later than usual. We have recorded it literally a couple of hours ago. It is now 3:30 of the same day, 6th of March 2022. And yeah, hopefully you still have an opportunity to listen to this episode before the next week hits. I wish you all a pleasant rest of the day, a nice following week, and I hope everything will be well. Remember that the world may be cruel and unjust, but we can still enjoy the sunsets. This has been Nicholas Malson and my guest Scott. Have a lovely day, and I'll speak to you later. Goodbye.